F2 Nationals anyway. So what I was about to say really before that happened was that because USA, Russia and France were mitigated from the season 6.5 calendar by our new rulings of track votes in terms of getting rid of circuits for the week, for the seasons, shorter seasons, it means that these 3 circuits are now immune from the vote. So when we vote for next time we need to shorten our calendar for a season, France, Russia and USA will not be included in the list of the votes, and basically then how many other circuits get taken off the calendar for that shortened season, they'll be the next ones on the list to get rid of, and that will keep going until we've pretty much exhausted every single circuit on the list of things. So evidently, in an eventual sense, tracks like Monaco, Australia, all the synonymous named circuits will eventually be mitigated from a shortened season calendar, and that's also probably also depending if we get that far down the road that we would end up needing to mitigate pretty much every circuit on the track vote. And then obviously if we got to a point where there was like we needed to get rid of 3 tracks and there was only 2 left, then the list would reopen but Australia and Monaco, let's say those were the 2 last circuits, those 2 would be automatically in the cutout list for that season. So you see a lot of sort of vindication towards that, and it's just something that we figured would make a lot of sense, so people weren't just obviously going straight for Russia and USA every single time that there was a track vote. Now I have reason to believe that Joe Roberts may be joining me in about 5 minutes time, so that's good to know, so I have a bit of insight towards that. As I said, any questions regarding the season calendar, Season 7, what's happening with Season 7 administrational wise, my 100th Grand Prix, anything you want to ask right now, feel free to ask in the comment section below, and I'm hoping that my internet will stay in long enough to stick with this as we continue this self-discussion. It's kind of like talking to yourself in a little sense, but obviously you're talking to a public crowd, even if it is just 4 people at the moment. So, I suppose we could have a look at the Russian Grand Prix highlights for the regional championship. So in the Sunday night regional race, it was an inevitable win by Andrew Furtado, or better known as Andrew Honda by our standpoint. No, sorry, that was the Monday night. So the Monday night league was won by Zach Hockmere. Yeah, I really should have done my research on this actually, I'm sorry guys. Anyway, that Grand Prix was pretty heavily compounded by championship rivals Joseph Bucks and Michael Garone Jr. both falling into trouble, and then Zach taking full advantage of the race to win from... I don't think Andrew raced in that race actually, but I can't remember who was second, but Alex Gutierrez, who was actually on course to win the Ethan Lossing, but Ethan Lossing, wait, was it Ethan? Who cares? Either which way, Alex Gutierrez, who was looking actually like the driver who would take the race win for it was Ethan Lossing. So it was a 1-3 for Racing Point. It was 1-2 in a sense because Ethan was a reserve, but a last lap spin put pay to Alex's chances of his first race win since last season in the US regionals, where he evidently won the championship. So the defending champion hasn't had a really good run of success in the second season. That is on the account that he has moved the wheel for this season and has been trying to get his way back up to fighting contention. Probably doesn't help on the account that other leagues he uses his pad, so he is kind of confusing himself a little bit. And personally, Alex, if you are watching this, which I don't think you will be, but if you ever do look back on this, my suggestion to you is to get on the wheel and stick to it. Don't go to your pad, because you're going to just start confusing yourself to a point where you're not going to have pace on either. The US regionals, well, actually there is a bit of a big news story actually towards that. It will probably get brought up in the commentary for the Wednesday night division by Robert Hildebrand and Matthew Green, but I figure it's probably a better time to explain it here and now. So, 2 drivers were inadvertently banned from the league, or the division. One kind of banned themselves more than anything, but there was you can see it on the channel. So if you go through the TNE channel and go to the Wednesday night division, I think Robert labels it the EU Cup. If you go there and check out that video, can't remember exactly when, but there's a safety car, and Joe Brindley, DXT King Holm, smashes into the rear of the championship leader Jaye, and the net result was a 5-second penalty for Jaye for a heavy collision, and Joe was out of the race. Upon the investigation of the footage shown, it was clear that Joe deliberately crashed into the back of Jaye, and that was actually confirmed also by Joe himself, which is why he left the league by his own admission, because he felt like he was in the wrong space for it. But what should have really ended there sort of transitioned into a more problematic situation with the idea that just give me a minute here, I'm just trying to sort something out with my phone. So I can read the comments. For God's sake. Sorry. Like I say, it's the internet on this thing is not very flash, so I'm struggling to kind of put it into context. So I think. Hi, Michael Poland. Why don't you come and join me in the com box? Come and join me in the chat if you're able to chat with on the thing. You should be able to join through your phone actually if you've got a headset. And speaking of which, actually, Joe Roberts now joins me in the paddock. So welcome, Joe. I'm just getting to the bottom of this Wednesday night situation. So we viewed the footage. It was deemed to be deliberate. We didn't really talk much about it because at the time the person who put the video up, Jaye, put it up in a very discriminatory and rude manner. I'm not going to go into details of what it was called because obviously I don't want to repeat offences like that. We of the committee asked him to politely change the name to something that wasn't rude or offensive. He took the incentive, changed one letter in a word, in a bid to keep it what it was, but obviously in his views wasn't offensive, which in the views of myself, being very open-minded, was just being a smart ass. So I told him to change it again to something more formal, or else we would take drastic procedures. He changed it again, but it didn't change to be anything any less more discriminatory, in fact, if not more discriminatory than the first one. And as a result, under the rule etiquette of Section 3 of our Transnation eSports Rules and Regulations Handbook, he was disqualified from the Wednesday Night Regional Championship. inadvertently, Cheye, it's not the first rodeo that he's ever committed where he's posted up videos with very discriminatory, rude comments. We elected at that point too that because of that and his continual go on towards Joe Brindley for the whole situation, he was inadvertently banned from Transnation Esports and blacklisted altogether. So, Joe, you being an admin for the European sector, do you feel somewhat embarrassed to the idea that there are people out there that can tarnish someone like that in such a manner and then show really, not really show any remorse towards that person in any shape or form, and then, kind of, what's the word, validating his reasons for doing it, and then arguing with committee members who are basically your employers? Do you feel embarrassed to the idea that there are people out there that are like that? It's a longer pause than I would think. I think we've just actually lost connection with Joe already. Yeah, surprise, surprise. Okay, well, I figure that out. I'll wait for him to kind of leave and come back, if he can hear me. Poor timing, obviously. So, hang on. We'll be back after this break.